Hello everyone, I'm part of the PhunkyFoods team and today I'm going to show you how to make a quick and easy pizza. When we think about pizza, pizza's in the top 5 of our takeaway food choices. We don't often see it as a healthy option, and what I'm going to do today is show you how to make it with being healthy. So that depends also on what toppings you put on it and also how you make your base. So let's start off. Let's look at what equipment you need to make it. You need a chopping board and a knife. You need a bowl, a fork and a tablespoon. You need a rolling pin and a baking tray, and that's all you need for that side. For the toppings, you need to have, as a minimum, some chopped tomatoes and some tomato puree and some cheese, and then what other toppings you fancy. I've got some sweet corn, some mushrooms, ham and some peppers and a few olives. And you'll just need the yogurt and the flour to make the base with. Okay, we're going to start first of all by getting the toppings ready. So if you're going to do pepper, you need to prep it up. So the first thing you need to do is take your chopping board and your knife. Always put whatever you're going to cut flat side down because it's easier to cut and safer to cut. And when you hold your knife, you need to hold it firmly with your finger on top like that, so you've got some guidance and you can control the knife. There are two types of cutting. One is the bridge and one is the claw. So if you start with the bridge, you just hold your food like this and you're cutting between your fingers, so backwards and forwards like that, and just slicing. And then with the claw, you just hold your fingers like this and you're going to cut your pepper really finely. You can dice it if you wish, but thin slices is sufficient. And you have to remember that the toppings that you put on your pizza need to cook. Pizza cooks for about 10 minutes, so if you make them too fast, they won't cook through. With your mushroom, I've washed these already, so just destalk it, give it a quick peel. If they're really clean and fresh, you probably don't even need to peel them. And again, flat side down, and again, you hold it with the claw, holding your knife, and just cutting really thin slices like this. The ham I've already pre-diced. The tomatoes don't need any preparation work to it, nor do the sweet corn. The olives, I'm just going to cut those, again, using the claw, into very, very small rounds like that, just to go on top of the pizza. And some of it's just about adding colour to your pizza. That's on one side. So let's think about the base. What I've got here is 70 grams of self-raising flour. Okay, put that into your bowl. If you haven't got any scales, what you can do is you just want 2 tablespoons, slightly heat like that. And to this we're going to add some fat-free natural yogurt. And again we're going to add 2 tablespoons of this, but this time it's going to be flat. That's 2 flat tablespoons. Don't worry if your measurements aren't quite right. What we can do is we can always add some more flour or add some more yogurt afterwards. Take your fork, and what you're going to do is mix your flour and your yogurt together until it starts to form a ball. And then here's the really fun bit. Using your forefinger and the tips of your other fingers and your thumb, okay, we're going to mix it together. So don't put your whole hand in, otherwise you'll get it all over your hand, it'll be very messy. But you're just going to push down and push the mixture together. It's like kneading it. Just keep going round, keep turning your bowl round so that you get all the flour in there. Like I said, if you find it a little bit sticky, then you need to add a little bit more flour. If you found it really dry, then you need to add a little bit more yogurt. But just be careful, only add them in small amounts, otherwise you could be here all day trying to get your consistency right. end up then with is a ball of dough like that. Okay. Now, here's a tip for getting the flour off your hands. First of all, just rub it like this. If you've got lots on, they won't come off. What you can do is just pick some flour up and rub the flour in between your fingers, like so. And that helps it come off a lot easier. So, now you've got your pizza base. And this is going to make 2 pizzas. So sprinkle some flour out on your surface and divide your mixture into 2. Cut this lightly like that, and you're going to roll it into a shape. So you're going to roll it backwards and forwards. Okay. If it sticks, it's because there's not enough flour on it. So just do a couple of rolls and then turn it. And a couple more rolls. And turn it. And that's your first pizza base. You take your baking tray, a bit more flour. Just cover your baking tray base in flour and then it won't stick to it. Now you need to make your bases according to the size of your baking tray. That's your first one. Now if you haven't got a rolling pin, don't worry. What you can do is you can either use a glass bottle and sterilise it first, or what you can do is you can use your hands. Now it's not as easy when you use your hands, but you need to just press it down. Like so, it takes a little bit longer. You're better just pressing it out. You just need to get all the lumps out from the middle so you get a smooth base. So as you press it, just push it a little bit as well. And this pizza might end up more round than my other pizza. Don't worry, if you get a little hole in like that, you can just fold it over and continue. Okay, so that's your second pizza. Now what you need to do is just tidy up a little bit. So here's a tip. If you just take a dry cloth and wipe all the flour into one space, and you can sweep it into your bowl. You get as much of as you can that way, because as soon as you put a cloth onto it, the water and the flour will make like a gloop. It's much harder to get off that way. So we've got our bases, and now we're ready to do our toppings. So the first thing we're going to put on is some tomato puree. Okay. So you probably need about a tablespoon. And then if you use the back of a spoon, what you're going to do is you're going to spread it around your pizza. Don't get it too close to the edges. Okay, you want to be about 1/2 centimetre from the edge of the pizza. And even if you don't like tomatoes, you really need to put this tomato puree base on, because this acts as a layer between your pizza and your toppings, and it stops your pizza from going soggy. Do that for both pizzas. If you get it too near the edges, what happens is you don't get your topping to cover it, and therefore it just burns. Okay, the next thing we're going to put on is some chopped tomatoes. Now, if you can buy the chopped tomatoes in a can with herbs already added, that's great, and if you can't, all you have to do is add your own herbs. So I've got some mixed herbs here, about a teaspoon, just sprinkle it on top, and some black pepper, and then you just need to mix it in. And that's your own tin of herby tomatoes. When you're ready, just spoon it on top. Again, you're just covering the same area as you have done with your tomato puree, because all pizzas have a tomato base. If you really don't like the lumps of tomato, what you could do is you could blitz it. So we've got two bases like that, we're ready to go with our toppings. So on this one I'm going to put some ham. Now if you decide you want to put meat on your pizza, that's fine, but just remember it needs to be cooked meat. So this is very lean chopped ham, and it came in a tin, so I opened the tin and just diced it up. If you want to put chicken on, that's great, but it must be cooked, otherwise you'll give yourself food poisoning. They only cook for 10 minutes, and that's not enough time for raw chicken to be cooked through. I'm going to put some sweet corn on here. I also like to put pineapple on my pizza as well. We know it's not very traditional, but I quite like to do it. And some mushrooms. What you have to be careful is that you don't build it up too high, and it's the same level all the way across, otherwise you'll find the bits of it cook faster than others. And on this one I'm going to put some peppers. And some more sweet corn. Put some olives on here as well, just to make it look a little bit different. I'm missing a bit more mushroom in there, because mushroom's my favourite. And then we're going to add some cheese. So what I've got here is some grated mozzarella, and it's low-fat mozzarella. Now cheese is really good for us because it's got calcium in it, and the calcium is good for both our bones and our teeth. But you also have to remember that cheese does have quite a lot of fat in it as well, which is why I've chosen the lower fat option, and why I'm going to put slightly more on. Okay. So there you have it. Those are your two pizzas ready to go in the oven. I'm going to do now is put them in the oven for about 8 to 10 minutes, just have to keep an eye on them. When the cheese starts to go brown and golden, then they're ready. So while our pizza's cooking, let's have a quick look at why this recipe is a healthy option. Normally, your pizza base is made out of olive oil and flour, has salt in it, and quite often they add sugar to it as well. Whereas we've used a flatbread recipe, which is purely made out of flour and yogurt. If we look against an Eat Well guide, I can see that the flour would come under the carbohydrate section, and the yogurt would come under the dairy section. And then look about our toppings. So we've got a little bit of ham, which covers the protein here, the pink one. And then we've got sweet corn and pepper and olives and mushrooms and tomatoes, and they all come under the fruit and veg section here. Topped off with some cheese, which again is back into the dairy section. So none of those foods that we've put on our pizza fall outside the Eat Well guide. If they fell outside the Eat Well guide, then they would be here. Things that are high in salt and fat and sugar, okay? The recipe that I've used, the flatbread one, can also be used in different ways. So for example, if I'm making garlic bread, I often make the same recipe, and rather than putting pizza toppings on it, I just brush it with some butter and some garlic and make it into a garlic bread. There's lots of different things you can do and ways to use it. Okay, so these have been in the oven for 11 minutes at 180 degrees, which is gas mark 6. As you can see, they didn't stick, and that's because you put the flour underneath. So all I need to do now is prep them up for serving. I've got a pizza cutter, but you can just use an ordinary knife. Just be careful because they're very hot. And they are smaller pizzas than you might normally have, but what I would do is serve them with some salad and jack potato perhaps to make it into a healthier meal. Okay? So there you have it. 2 finished pizzas, quick and easy to make and also very healthy. I hope you have as much fun making it as I did. Just remember before you start that you need to do your health and hygiene, so you need to wash your surface down, you need to wash your hands and tie your hair back. Okay? Enjoy your tea and have fun. Thank you.